This is creating impactful training programs to enhance workforce diversity by LHRD 702 Group C. Presented by Dina Meredith, Catherine Talbert, Michael Garcia, Niara Addison, and Yosha Brooks. The purpose of this study is to understand the challenges that organizations are facing when implementing a successful diversity program for senior level managers and their direct reports. The problem we find, though, is workforce diversity is key to globalization. However, organizations are only implementing accommodations by name and not practice. And there is a lack of purposeful development in organizations due to the lack of practical implementation once training has commenced, including proper metrics that indicate effectiveness. The costs of ineffective systems and processes are high turnover, conflict, mistrust, and low morale in teams, leading to lower productivity and performance. So the question is, are funding and HRD training design challenges affecting the successful implementation and reach of diversity programs? And we find it significant because the diverse workforce brings in new ideas to help understand the modern customer. And HRD needs to be finding ways to help them break through the glass ceiling they feel is holding them back. The more minority workers we have in seniority positions, the more creative and diverse thought that will be at the top. We hope with this research prospectus, we can see if these standards are being put in place and if employees are getting the help they think they deserve. And now a quick background on our lit review. Before the 1980s, EEO standards were the standard. And today, diversity is not required but expected and necessary for organizations to compete in a globalized market. Workplace diversity has been proven to be one of the most common human resource development efforts made by human resource professionals. And despite the many efforts made, workplace diversity is often met with failure. Current HRD practices focus heavily on diversity training but are often unsuccessful or ineffective. Training is simply not enough. Diversity is important to overall success, yet costly when not managed well. The cost of ineffectively managing diversity is more than just monetary in terms of turnover. It's also costly in terms of a company's creativity, innovation, and overall competitive edge. And researcher Hughes stated that the best way to implement workplace diversity is within an organization is through the use of different diversity trainings. And now the gap from our literature review. Starting off with the use of diversity intelligence assessment tools combined with leadership development. A missing piece in the discipline are assessments for diversity intelligence utilized in a way that creates changes in leaders which have trickled down the changes in overall workplace culture in the organization where they lead. Diversity training is designed in a way that makes the training customizable to each individual by identifying their areas for growth. Use these types of assessments and then meeting each person where they are in their diversity intelligence journey with coaching and leadership development support. If HRD professionals could use assessment tools that measure this type of intelligence and then customize training through coaching each individual in a way that meets them where they are in their journey towards greater diversity intelligence, it would make diagnosing solutions and training more realistic, effective, and customizable for each individual and therefore more impactful. More research is needed to determine how this combination improves workplace culture over time for underrepresented populations, and utilizing these assessments to identify the right leaders and invest heavily in them. For HRD to be successful, diversity will need to be a business focus from the very foundation of an organization, and change in organizations must stop from the top. Kormanek states that from the company's mission, purpose, hiring, and training, diversity will need to be interwoven throughout. Diversity should represent the collective differences brought to the workplace based on individual and group characteristics, attributes, values, beliefs, backgrounds, socialization, life experiences, and power dynamics. Training effectiveness. How is diversity knowledge managed once the trainings are complete? Hughes states that if an organization is not diligent with management, having workplace diversity may turn into systems of checks and balances. Instead of simply being aware of diversity efforts and engaging in general diversity training, organizations should strive towards including task forces and mentoring programs in their efforts because they have shown actual improvements in gender, racial, and ethnic diversity in an organization's management. Funding issues. Companies commonly consider backing diversity initiatives. However, it is never really a top business priority. Other business practices that are faster at giving a payback on investment usually skip to the head of the line, undercutting any diversity practice that are taking place. Lastly, researcher Sim stated that when combined diversity, intelligence, servant leadership practices might bring into a reality a progressive, equitable, and inclusive workplace. Sims also states that after this happens, the followers in a diversity intelligence environment are able to increase their competencies, intuition, and creativity, thus experiencing optional human functioning. The idea is that when an organization adopts this approach, they would capitalize on the benefits of workforce diversity by unleashing each person's maximum potential. To carry out this interview, we have chosen a qualitative method because we believe that one-on-one interviews will create a setting that is comfortable for the participants and allow them to give answers without the pressure of others being around. And the participants will be able to provide more in-depth responses. The participants involved in the study will be senior leadership since they will be responsible for the successful implementation of diversity inclusivity practices. For our collection, we have chosen to utilize Zoom and its recording features, which will be used in hosting these virtual interviews. We will ask that the participant join in a quiet space where there are no potential distractions. The questions will all be open-ended and we will only actively listen so there are no implications for the researcher, which will offer results in the rawest form. We understand that bias is natural and the researchers have addressed their current biases that they have. To prevent misinterpretation, the researchers will develop a critiquing rubric and review each other's work based on metrics agreed upon. We hope to find information that can help the organization identify areas for growth to utilize moving forward with knowledge and intention. We hope to find that there is tremendous need for customized development and training, combined with the use of assessment tools related to identifying diversity intelligence levels in leaders. Equipped with this information, HRD professionals will be able to effectively advise organizations in recruiting employees and identifying leaders who are on the spectrum and then investing in their development. We hope this helps contribute to factors that would help grow or redirect their leader attitudes and perceptions towards growing a more diverse team when understanding the cost of not doing so. This would allow the organizations to compete in a globalized economy and would hopefully increase their transfer of knowledge to followers and create a positive and diverse workplace environment. In conclusion, we hope the study helps to understand the challenges that organizations face when implementing a successful diversity program for senior level managers and their direct reports. The issue of workplaces failing to have a culture that supports diversity is quite a big issue. This is born out of the fact that organizations have not figured out how to execute impactful diversity trainings. In this light, this research proposal seeks to give a solution for how organizations can counter this gap relative to the move towards a more diversified workforce. We hope to determine overall effectiveness, attitudes, and perceptions of diversity training from tenured leaders to new leaders, and how effective these training opportunities prove to be when looking at overall culture and diversity of their workforce. The reviewed articles conclude that there is a lack of impactful diversity training. Also lacking is the proper application of the HRD training curriculum within organizations seeking to increase workplace diversity. This study hopes to gather data from utilization of the qualitative approach relative to the interviews, data gathering method, and gaining insights in areas where HRD training in diversity intelligence could improve in the workplace. This is born out of publications that have carried out research on this topic. This has been done through comparison of the gathered information as well as the literature from the sources. We find it very beneficial to incorporate diversity into the core values as part of the HRD training curriculum, and its ability to fit within the culture of an organization's mission relative to the implementing diversity into the workplace. The same conjecture will be drawn from how workplace diversity can work as a valuable tool to an organization, save on costs, and how it is necessary relative to the attainment of globalization.